Hello and welcome to Chapter 11, Key Issue 1, where we're going to look at where is industry distributed. Let's jump in. Before, you've got this cottage industry where people are making things in their own homes. They're creating tools like for use in their garden or in the farm. They're pretty much having to do it themselves. Maybe even going to a local store to buy something, but there's definitely not a huge mechanized industrial process. In the late 1700s, we began the Industrial Revolution in the United Kingdom, and this is a series of improvements in industrial technology that transformed the process of manufacturing goods. And it began in the United Kingdom for a number of different reasons, but one of them is the overabundance of coal. People used to have to use wood to heat their ovens, and that was very time-consuming, inefficient, and you couldn't keep the ovens heated as consistently and efficiently. So in the United Kingdom, they had an abundance of coal, so they switched over to that fuel, and they were able to utilize their ovens for melting steel a lot better. In fact, in the late 1700s here, when the Industrial Revolution begins, you have iron, something that takes a long time to heat the ovens consistently with wood, but with the invention of Watt's steam engine, it efficiently and cheaply heats ovens over an extended period of time. So iron becomes a product that is easily manipulated and created. So again, we went from wood to coal, and that was something else that helped Europe explode in England as far as the Industrial Revolution. For transportation, we started to dig canals, and we built tons of railroads to transfer goods. Again, because of iron, we were able to build lots more railroads faster and more efficiently. Textiles, clothing. This factory system was spawned on in 1786 by Richard Arkwright, who invented the machine to untangle cotton. If you're having a machine that's able to do this for you, you can create fabrics so much faster. Chemicals. Before chemicals, people used to have to find dyes in nature out of natural plants and substances and apply it to individual pieces of fabric. Like you wanted a colored t-shirt, you have to do that yourself out of some natural like colors found in nature. But with the invention of chemicals in 1746 by John Roebuck and Samuel Garbett, they created a factory that dyed these fabrics with sulfuric acid and burning coal. Obviously, the process there is kind of dangerous, and sulfuric acid is horrible for the human system. So during this time, there was a lot of inventions and change, and yet the health issues weren't really that great. However, it is moving industry forward. So now they could create shirts of any color very quickly and efficiently because of these chemicals that they invented. And then food processing. In 1810, Nicholas Appert started canning food in glass bottles. So no longer did you have to get like some eggs and transport them quickly over a long period of time. Well, not necessarily eggs. Let's think of something else. I don't know. Like ham. So ham would spoil over sitting out over a number of days, not that long. But when Appert created food processing, he would put ham in glass bottles and store it that way, and it could be transported over long distances, and it would last a much longer amount of time. So if you think about it, now we've created a whole food industry where you can create food, store it, and ship it all across the world. Europe, what are their industrial regions? Well, you've got the United Kingdom. They used to dominate the steel and textile industries in the 19th century. Now, because they're a developed nation, they dominate high tech. The Rhine-Ruhr Valley, iron and steel manufacturing are created there due to its proximity to large coal fields. Mid-Rhine, we're talking about Germany area here. The Mid-Rhine, Frankfurt, this is a city. Frankfurt is the financial and commercial center and hub of the transportation network. Stuttgart specializes in high-value goods. Mannheim manufactures synthetic fibers, dyes, and pharmaceuticals. Down into the Po Basin, they have a huge textile industry due to low-wage workers and access to inexpensive hydroelectric power. They got a lot of water flowing, makes it cheap to get electricity to their plants. Northeastern Spain, Catalonia is Spain's textile industry and motor vehicle plant. Moscow, moving up into Russia now. This is a huge industrial region in the capital city. St. Petersburg, Russia, it specializes in shipbuilding. Why might that be? Well, they're right on the coast there. The Urals, proximity to minerals attracted steel, machinery, and metal fabricating plants. The Ural Mountains Russia, it's got tons of resources and things embedded in their country there, so they're always going to be a contender. Volga, it's the largest petroleum and natural gas fields and tons of minerals in the Ural Mountain Range. Kuznetsk, its large reserves of coal and iron ore supply the important manufacturing district. Donetsk, one of the world's largest coal reserves in eastern Ukraine. And Cilicia, it's a growing industrial region due to skilled but low wage workforce and proximity to wealthy markets. Here's a look at the graphic. We're talking about Europe's industrial centers here. We've got the Ural Mountains here, Russia. They're always going to have tons of minerals and supplies of resources, so they're always going to be contenders on the world stage. St. Petersburg, shipbuilding, they're right on the coast here. Germany, back into Europe here. They're major cities, Frankfurt, Mannheim, Stuttgart, leading financial centers to this day, the major influence on world financial systems. Northeastern Spain, where we're talking about vehicle production, and on into the United Kingdom. North America, what are our industrial regions? We've got New England. It used to be the cotton textile center in the early 19th century. If you think about before the Civil War in the early 1800s, right? We know what we've got textiles going on here in the United States up in New England. Middle Atlantic, it's the largest U.S. market. It attracts industry that needs to be close to consumers. So if we got these major cities here on the Middle Atlantic with tons and millions of people, it's going to be the largest market. You can sell your goods to people. There's tons of people there. Mohawk Valley, it's the industrial center. It takes advantage of inexpensive electricity from Niagara Falls. A bunch of water flowing, you can make electricity very cheaply and efficiently. Pittsburgh, Lake Erie, it's leading steel production in the 19th century due to its proximity to the Appalachian coal and iron ore in the mountains there. But the steel moved on westward to the Western Great Lakes. It's the hub of the transportation network, and it's now the center of steel production. You think about trains and airplanes out of Chicago O'Hare International Airport, all the cattle being rolled into the processing plants over railroads in Chicago. That's the Western Great Lakes region. Southern California, a lot of variable industry production there with clothing, textiles, furniture, food processing. And southeastern Ontario, it's Canada's largest industrial area because it's close to the U.S. markets. And it has the Great Lakes and Niagara Falls for hydropower. There's the graphic. So we're looking at the largest market here. Of course, we've got major cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. What you used to have is the center for steel in Pittsburgh here. Proximity to coal in the Appalachian Mountains has now moved west to Detroit, Chicago, and Milwaukee along the Great Lakes right there. And then way out west, of course, we've got Los Angeles, which is the center for many industrial things like textiles and a different variety. Asia, their industrial regions. We think of Japan. It became an industrial power in the 1950s and 60s by producing goods sold in large quantities at cut rate prices to other countries. So back in my day, when I was a kid, Japan was the place to get your technology from because they did it cheaply and very, very well put together. Made in the USA has always been around, but it wasn't till like when I was a kid in the 80s where you started to buy things that were Japanese because they were better, well thought out and cheaper. China, we think of them now as supplying a whole bunch of things for worldwide consumption. They are the largest supply of low-cost labor. They're the largest market for consumer products, and they're big on manufacturing on the East Coast. So China's going to be a contender now, guys. They already are because they're the largest market. If you're going to sell something, no longer is it primarily going to be in the United States. Now it's going to be China because they have so many people that they're going to be able to buy. They got huge purchasing power. And South Korea, they're focused on export-oriented manufacturers, and they're the leading producer of ships. Here's the graphic. So we just said South Korea, the leading producer of ships. Of course, they're right there on the Pacific Ocean. Tokyo, Japan, technologies, and China with things up here in the Yangtze River Valley and on the East Coast here. And Hong Kong, major industrial centers in Asia. And that's a look at Chapter 11, Key Issue 1.